Hello and welcome to class. My name is Dr. Mark Kavanaugh and I am recording this video, this first video for you to introduce you to the class as I have designed it here in Brightspace. It's, I believe, is new to you. A little bit about myself so you know where I'm coming from. I am the chair of social sciences at Kennebec Valley Community College, and I have lots of connections. We as a college have lots of connections to UMA. I'm a former music student at UMA, and I used to work for the ITV system there several years ago, so I have a close association with the college, and I'm getting to teach one of my favorite classes here in personality at KVCC and UMA. We're all learning to use Brightspace, and this is part of what this little tutorial is going to be about. So let's go take a look at the course, even though I know you're in it right now, and I want to explain how I sort of use Brightspace to teach the psychology of personality. So here we have the entry point into the class. You're in the PSY 310 Psychology of Personality here this fall, and this might look a little different. There's going to be some announcements or whatever, but essentially I want you, when you're coming in here, look at any announcements and then quickly go over to the content section. This is where all the action is going to be happening. You go into content, and the first page that shows up is the syllabus, and here's some information. Picture of me, some contact information with my UMain address, and the syllabus right here, the syllabus telling you kind of a written contract of the class. And you go down here, and here's the syllabus. It goes through the introduction to the class, the textbook that's required. I'm going to be getting into that in just a little bit about the course description and course objectives. Down here for all the chapters that we're going to be discussing, and in course activities, talking about this thing that I call a course book. It's going to be one of the things that you're going to have to download, and that's where all the content is. So everything that I am putting into the class, aside from the textbook, is all contained within this course book. So you read about the course book, and then there are chapters and there are chapter quizzes and assignments that are outlined in there. This is a generic syllabus, so I have the stuff about face-to-face attendance, but thanks to COVID, we are all online, and we're going to be looking at some graded discussions. There is a special assignment, not a research paper. It's actually an autoethnography. Getting into that in just a little bit about grading, the grading scale. And then please read up on the institutional policies that are listed here. There's things about attendance, academic honesty, and those kinds of things. So let's go over here to the menu, and we have course documents, chapters, special assignments, and student resources. Now, the student resources is the same as the student resources that have been available in all of your other classes, so I won't spend much time in that one. But let's take a look at course documents. In the course documents section, you see here's my welcome, and I go into the trio of resources. Now, what this represents is, in this class, there are three components that I provided for you. The first is a textbook. It is free, and you're going to download it. It's a PDF. There's a number of other ways you can get it to, but it's primarily as a PDF. The second is the course book, and the third is Brightspace. And you're going to be using all three of those things. So in a typical week, you are going to go into Brightspace. The week begins on Monday, and certainly you're looking ahead and working ahead, and you're anticipating another exciting week in personality. And so you look at the week in a document that I call the timeline. Now, the timeline is situated right here, the course timeline. You click on that, and what you have is a document that week to week specifies what we will be doing. There's no surprises. There's no midterm final. There's that final project. But every week, there's little things to do. There are discussions, there are quizzes, and there are assignments. And that is all outlined. All the due dates for everything is right there in front of you. And you can access everything in this class in the chapters folder, which we'll be looking at next. So you look at a typical week, let's say in week 3, we're going to be doing 2 chapters. Chapter 3, Sigmund Freud. Chapter 4, Alfred Adler and Harry Stack Sullivan. Chapters. This is chapter 3 and 4. So there's a chapter 3 and 4 in the textbook, and I want you to read that. That will give you the broad sense of what's available in the textbook. Then you open up the course book and you read the corresponding chapters 3 and 4 in there. Those are my lecture notes. They're organized in a system I called ALADA. So each chapter has an attention-getting section at the beginning, tells you the learning outcomes. There's teaching, where there's stuff that I write. There's images, there's movies, there's links, all of that stuff to tell you what I think is the most interesting things. Hopefully you'll agree. And then at the end of each chapter, there's a description of the assignments or the assessments. They include online discussions where you're going to be going in and posting answers to my prompt, but also responding to each other's postings. There are quizzes, and the questions are written out in the course book. So you can prepare those answers ahead of time. Those are all they're all essays, little essays. And then every once in a while there's an assignment. And the assignment is a little bit more involved, writing a paper with a title page and all that to meet the learning outcomes of that particular chapter. And so you've read the textbook, you've read the course book, you've prepared all of your stuff to get ready to go into Brightspace, your third of the trio of resources. You go into Brightspace. Right at the beginning of the week, start participating in the discussions. It's very important for everybody to get in right at the beginning. Keep the motivation high, because if people post early, then you can reply early. And if some people in the class don't get until later, they still have time to participate and all that stuff. So please try to get in there early. I'm not going to make a policy at this time. The first post needs to be in by Wednesday or something like that. But I will move in that direction if the class doesn't have sort of a unified achievement of the goal of posting early so that we can get rich discussion about these topics. They're usually pretty controversial. There's pretty much no right answer, no wrong answer. And so it's kind of a rich discussion that can happen in there. You'll see as you encounter those. You can do the quizzes and you can do the assignments, and you can do those ahead of time. You can work ahead because you can access everything, work ahead on the quizzes, work ahead on the discussions, and work ahead on the quizzes and the assignments, but do not work ahead on the discussions. The discussions, we have to be in those together. Each week there are discussions, and that's when you're going to be participating in those. They're not locked down to keep you from doing that, but please don't, because I'm going to be going in. And if people are working ahead on the discussions, if they haven't asked me because of some situation that they're in, I'm going to actually not count those. And so make sure that you participate in those discussions every week. So each week, there's stuff to do. And you have this ethnography. It's an auto-ethnography. You're going to be doing it on yourself. Now, all of these assignments, everything is explained in the course book. So if we're back here in the course documents, I skipped right over it when I went down to the course timeline, but they're right here. You click on here to download the textbook. You click on here to download the course book in either PDF format or EPUB format. The EPUB format's a little bit more kind of like for tablets. It's a little bit more multi-touch, a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more megabytes. But if you have an iPad or an iPhone, that's an ideal platform for that. So you'll be able to navigate that course book very easily. Still here in course documents, down at the bottom, there are 2 open discussions. These are not graded discussions, but there's course questions, and there is the course lounge. And I'm going to be asking you to post an introduction in the course lounge as one of the first things you do in this class. So I can get to know you. Post pictures. It could be of you, your family, your dog, your boat. I don't care. Let's get to know each other a little bit. This COVID thing has really isolated a lot of us, and the more that we can share about who we are and what we are, I think it'll make for a better class for everybody. Now, the next place I want to look at is probably where we're going to be spending the most time. Now, that is over here in chapters. And what this section of the course does is there's a little section, see, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, all 20 chapters. And inside each one of these are links to the graded discussions, quizzes, and assignments for each one of those chapters. Just goes right down. And if you click on them over here, like say, I'm going to go over to chapter 12, Erik Erikson. I like that guy. And it'll open it up here. It's just, right at the top here. It's just that chapter stuff. And if I want to participate in the discussion, I click on there. When I'm ready to take the quiz, I click on there. Easy peasy, right? So that's how you navigate to get the stuff. You've read the textbook, you've read the course book, you're ready to go. You go into the chapters link, find the appropriate chapter, and there's your stuff. There's your discussion, there's your quiz and your assignments. There's no content. The content's in the course book. You've already read that. And then finally, down at the bottom, navigating here, way down at the bottom here, we have special assignments. And the only thing that's in there is the Dropbox for the special assignment. That's all it is. In the course book, I can't emphasize this enough, the course book contains everything. It contains an introduction to the course. It covers content in every chapter, gives you all the grading rubrics that I'm going to be using for all the assignments, including the autoethnography. It gives you tons of information. I put a lot of work into those, so please read that. Now, arguably, you may find out that you can just read the course book. There's lots of material in there, and you'll get a lot out of this class. I want to urge you, however, to also read the textbook. The textbook will give you the broad kind of scope of this entire class and give you from a much better writer. And then what the course book does, it kind of dives deep. So you have the breadth and the depth. So I picked what we're going to go deep on, kind of what my job is as an instructor. But you might not be interested in the same things I am, and you may find things that are of interest to you in the textbook. So enrich yourself with the textbook. Read the course book. You have to do that. Do not do a quiz or discussion without going to that course book, because that's where all the instructions are. And post everything into Brightspace. Now, your first task as you read this is to post an introduction. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I'll be doing it too. And I'll be using the little video note tool to do that, doing a little video inside of Brightspace. And I believe you have the ability to use that tool as well. It's the little insert stuff button when you go to do a discussion, or when you go to do almost anything in Brightspace. So I wish you the best of luck. I'm looking forward to a very fun semester with you. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. Post questions in the course questions place. Chances are, if you have the questions, somebody else does as well. So I look forward to getting to know you over this semester, and have a great little bit rest of your summer if you're looking at this early. We're just a couple days from the start, so I hope you had a great summer is what I probably should say. So I will see you soon.